guys, welcome to TCV Law Series. So in today's class, we'll be dealing with Chapter 4 of the Indian Patent Act, which talks about publication and examination of applications. Now only from this chapter, we are actually entering into the Indian Patent Office, like what all procedure will be taking place after you have filed your application, right? Now come, let's go see what Section 11A talks about. Now Section 11A talks about publication of applications. Now once you have filed your application will be published after a period of 18 months. Now what all will be published? The date of the application, your application number, that is the number of the application, then name and address of the applicant. So you have applied, then your name and address will be there. Then the abstract which you have mentioned, that will be there, and then the specification and drawings. For specification and drawing, only by paying some prescribed fee, that will be given. And then in case your invention was a biological material, remember I told about International Depository Authority. So that biological material will also be made available to public by the International Depository Authority. Now here you have to see that date, the number of the application, name and address, abstract will be there, whereas specification and drawing will be there only in regard to prescribed fee, and biological material will be made available by the International Depository Authority. Now why do we have this 18-month time period? Thus 18 months is there so that you can file your application in any other jurisdiction. Moreover, whatever is mentioned in that won't come into public domain. So nothing with regard to it will be used to check the novelty of the invention. I'll give you an example. See, suppose you are filing an application in India on 2/2/2021 and it is getting published on 3/3/2021 without the 18-month time period itself. Then if you are wishing to publish it somewhere else, let's say you are filing that application in Sri Lanka on 5/5/2021. Now what happens to this application is that it will be questioning, novelty will be questioned. They'll say the same kind of application is already there, it is already published in India, so you won't get patent in Sri Lanka. I know it is your own invention, but still your invention itself will be used to question the novelty. That's why this 18-month time period is given. Now suppose you don't want this 18-month time period, you just want to get your invention published, application published immediately. Then you have to make a request for publication under Form 9. So what is Form 9? Form 9 mentions about request for publication. So then it will get published immediately. Now, will all the applications be published after the period of 18 months? No, there are certain exceptions to it. So what are the exceptions? That is, in case a secrecy direction is imposed under Section 35. Now what is Section 35? Section 35 talks about inventions relevant for defense purposes. So if your invention is something relating to defense purposes, then secrecy direction will be imposed. So that particular invention won't be published immediately after 18 months. Then the next thing is, if it is abandoned due to Section 9 Clause 1. What is Section 9 Clause 1? Section 9 Clause 1 says that complete specification, you have not filed your complete specification after filing your provisional specification. Because of that, your application has been abandoned. The next thing is that if you withdraw your application 3 months prior to the 18-month period. So if you have withdrawn it, then there is no need to publish, right? So that is another case. So in these three scenarios, after 18 months, it won't be published. Now, one small exception here is that when it comes to secrecy direction is imposed, your application will be published after the secrecy direction or after the 18-month period, whichever is later. See, suppose the secrecy is imposed only for 2 months, then after the 18-month period, your application will be published. Now suppose the secrecy direction is imposed for, let's say, 24 months. Then only after the 24 months get over, the application will be published. Now on and from the date the application is published, let's say it is published on 5/5/2021. Then from this particular day till the date of grant of patent, the applicant will have all the rights and privileges as if the patent has been granted on 5/5/2021 itself, whereas he cannot institute any infringement proceedings until patent has been granted to him. So all rights he will be having except the fact that he can institute infringement proceedings. Section 11B talks about request for examination. Now this request for examination is mentioned in Form 18. Now, like the name suggests itself, you have to make the request for examination within a period of 48 months from the date of filing of the application. So you have a time limit. Within that only you have to make the request. Now, in case you don't make request, then your application is considered to be withdrawn, provided that applicant has already withdrawn the application by making a special request. And suppose in case secrecy direction has been imposed, then the request has to be made 6 months after the revocation of the secrecy direction. Right? See, suppose secrecy direction is imposed, let's say, for a period of 24 months. Now, after 24 months, 6 months time period will be given to ask for requesting this examination. For other things, the request, they are having 48 months time period, right? Whereas when it comes to secrecy direction, after the revocation of it, 6 months time period will be given. Now, section 12 talks about examination of applications. So once you made a request, then your application, its specification and all other related documents will be sent to the examiner by the controller, and this particular examiner has to provide a report to the controller. Now what report will he provide? He will see whether this application, specification and all the related documents are in accordance with the Patent Act and rules. Then he will have to see whether there is any lawful ground for objection to the grant of patent. Then they will provide the result of investigations made under section 13. So we will see section 13 later, and then any other matter which is there. So these all things he will be providing, the examiner will provide it in his report. Okay. Section 13 talks about search for anticipation by previous publication and by prior claim. Now here the examiner will see whether any claim of the complete specification, your complete specification has been anticipated by previous publications. That is from 1/1/1912, from that day they will start saying. Not only that, they will also see the claim filed after your complete specification has been filed to see whether anybody else can claim priority. I know it is a bit confusing. I will give an example to it. See, suppose I am filing, let's say, let's take 1/1/1912, and let's take Mr. A is filing an application on 6/8/2021. He is filing an application. He is filing it with provisional specification. Now he is filing his complete specification on, let's say, 10/10/2021. Now what they are mentioning here is that for anticipation they will see from this day till this day, they will check to see previous publications, they will check to see whether any of your claim mentioned in this complete specification was anticipated by Mr. A, to check that. Now another thing what they mentioned is that suppose, let's say somebody else, Mr. B was here. Mr. B, he had filed an application, let's say on 1/1/2021. He filed it with provisional specification. Now Mr. B, he filed his complete specification only on 31/12/2021. Okay, so he is filing, Mr. B is filing his complete specification after Mr. A. Now why they are checking this afterwards thing is because now Mr. B can claim priority because he has filed the application before Mr. A has done. That's why they will check not only previous aspect to see the previous publications to see whether he has anticipated, and afterwards also they will check to see whether anybody else can claim priority. Now for this anticipation, they won't check only the applications that is there in India. They can check all the applications that is applied elsewhere, that is outside India also. Now in case you are having a complete specification, you have amended that complete specification, then again the claims that are mentioned in that amended complete specification will also undergo this same process to see whether any anticipation was there or whether anybody else can claim priority. Now section 14 talks about consideration of report of examiner by controller. Now once the examiner prepares his report, this report is called as first examination report. So once he prepares his report, he will send it to the controller and controller in turn will send it to the applicant. Now in case this report is against the applicant or in case he has to make any amendments, then this applicant will be given a time period of 9 months, or it is extendable to 3 months if form 4 is filed. Form 4 talks about request for extension of time. So applicant will be given this time period. Why? So that he can make this amendment or he can argue against this examination report. Okay, so this 9 months time period will be given. And another thing you have to keep in mind is that this request should be made at least 10 days prior to the 9-month time period. So since he is having 9 months, not that he will finish after 9 months and ask time. After at least 10 days prior to this ending of this 9-month period, he should make request to the controller or saying why this thing is against him or for what he has to make amendments. All these things he should ask. Okay guys, so today in our class we saw about publication of applications, then request for examination, then examination of the application, and then we saw about search for anticipation, and then we saw this consideration of report of examiner by the controller. So with that we come to the end of today's class. From our next class we will be dealing with powers of the controller. Thank you guys for watching this video. So if you guys like my class, then please do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.